Well, hey there. Got a little bit of a different project sitting here on the table today. Recently got these two boxcars from Jason the Train Freak. Selling some stuff both at a train show in Arkansas as well as over YouTube. And I saw these two N&W 40-foot boxcars, pinged him about them. Price was right, so I picked them up. He did warn me that they have the same road number. Yeah, they need work. He replaced the wheels with metal wheels and put Katie's on them and all that kind of stuff, but the price was definitely right, so thank you, Jason. But what I want to do, because they are fairly inexpensive and the same road number, I want to go ahead and kind of work on some of my skills with repainting and decaling. And so I'm going to leave the one on the left alone. Technically, the road numbers, or the build date rather, is a little bit past my layout. But honestly, I don't know if my eyes are going or if the font's too small or too blurry. I had to use my phone and zoom in on it to even read it. So I'm not going to let that bother me. I'm going to leave that one as is. This one over here, the markings are a little bit more faded, and in fact, the finish is a little bit glossy. So this is the one I'm going to strip down and repaint. So the idea here, I want to use these cars. Obviously, the road numbers are the same, so I need to do something about that anyway before I can use them. But like I said, I want to kind of hone my skills and practice a little bit on some of this stuff before I attempt it on some more expensive models. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to strip this guy down, show you how I do it, and we'll follow along as I repaint and decal this guy. Well, let's have a little adventure. I've never done this before. Okay, so all my research in terms of stripping plastic models led me to high test IPA. So I've got a good bit of this on hand, so I'm going to use this. I'm going to pour some of this. I think mostly what I read was stay above 90 or 91%. So this is 99. That's what I've got a bunch of. So going to put a bunch of this in this little Tupperware container, supposedly safe with plastic, and then we will drop this guy in there for a period of time and strip her down. So let's do that. I think, as long as I keep this covered, I should be able to use this to strip other things as well. So that will be the plan. If I can get this down on this little guy, I will move on to trying it with locomotive shells and nicer freight cars, etc., so that I can have a fleet of exactly what I want and not what somebody decided to make a long time ago. More to come. All right, so I came and checked on this. It's been about 6-7 hours, and just that, that paint just comes right off with an old soft bristled toothbrush. So I'm trying not to scratch things up too much. Trying not to scratch the finish, but yeah, that's coming right off pretty easily. So I would say that this works quite well. It's only been a couple minutes and I've already got one side pretty well cleaned up. And the roof, it's just coming, I'm not pushing very hard. But yeah, that IPA does a great job of helping you strip the paint. All right, so after, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes of working that toothbrush and that 99% isopropyl alcohol, after the 6-hour soak, it came off pretty easily. There's a little bit of residual stuff here and there, but I'm not too worried about that. I'll paint right over top of it. So that's what it looks like. So the plan's going to be to prime it with that gray primer. Happens to be Krylon Color Max, just gray. Then I'm going to use XF68 NATO Brown as the main color of the boxcar. Then once that's cured, we'll add some Tester's Gloss Coat in preparation for the decals. So we're skipping ahead here. The rattle can gray primer is on, and I've got my airbrush loaded up, and it's thinned down with 91% isopropyl. Again, it's just Tamiya XF68. Putting it on nice and thin. Kind of turned the thing around several times. I'll show this in real time and then kind of speed it up and even cut some off the end. It took about, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes from start to finish. I think I had to reload the airbrush once or twice. But yeah, so pretty straightforward here, just putting on the base color. Skipping ahead to the gloss coat. I do 2 coats here. Then I ended up doing 1 more after it sits for a little while. I just felt like I wanted it to be a little bit smoother. And this is also the decals lay nicely. I won't leave it in a glossy finish. Obviously, after some weathering and stuff, we'll finish it off with matte later. But all right, so we're catching up here, doing the last decal. So the first thing I did was get it in some warm water. And then I'll apply some micro set to the area where the decal is going to go. And I'm actually using obviously the Orange Blossom Special decal set for the Seaboard Airline from K4 decals. And I chose this one because Jason the Train Freak has this car or something similar to it with the same billboard and road markings. And it's kind of fun to have 2 of the same car and simulate some interchange back and forth. But here we are, just sliding the decal right off the backing. These are really nice decals that came off real easy. None of them tore or ripped or anything like that. And I'm just using the same soft bristled brush that I applied the micro set to kind of adjust the decal here, make sure it kind of lines up with where the other one is, and kind of get it in its final position. And once I'm satisfied with the position, I'll actually use a little scrap of an old t-shirt here and press the decal down into the rivets. This also kind of gets rid of a little bit of the micro set before I apply micro sol, which is coming up here next in just a second, using a different brush. And I did this a number of times until I was satisfied that the decal was really sitting down into the rivets and the edges were kind of blending in. So after a couple of applications of micro sol and letting the decals dry, the car got another nice coat of gloss to seal everything in and sort of set up for the next step, which I'm starting here. So I'm only going to do really sort of 3 layers of weathering here. And the first one that I'm starting here is a dot fade. So using a lot of white on this particular car, but I also have a little bit of burnt umber and raw sienna. And then you want to have a color that's kind of complementary to the color of the car, which in this case is kind of a reddish brown. If you look on a color wheel across from red, you find blue. So it sounds weird and it looks ridiculous, but it works. And so there's a good bit of titanium white. These are oil paints on that gloss finish. A good bit of titanium white and a pretty good amount of a nice blue color as well. So the next step in the process involves using this flat, wide brush and some odorless mineral spirits, the thinner, to kind of drag down through those dots and blend them sort of together. So I'm kind of dragging down until the dot just disappears and then moving on. And if the brush starts leaving brush marks of pigment, that's too much paint. So you'll see here and there, I'll reach off. There's a paper towel up in the top of the screen. I'll get up there with the brush, kind of wipe it off, get it in the thinner again, kind of clean the brush, and then go to clean thinner and go back to dragging down, across or through the dots to make them blend in. This actually is taking advantage of the properties of a nice smooth gloss finish, as well as the oil paint and the thinner, to create a bit of a color filter, a film kind of over top of the color that's already there. It's subtle, but I think it really does a nice job of mimicking the sun bleaching color. If you leave something out in the sun, it doesn't just go ghost white or ghost gray or whatever. If you look closely, you can see that complementary color and how that kind of mimics the effect of that sort of sun bleaching. So this is a nice technique to kind of start the weathering process with. So that's why I'm starting with it here. So I like to do a side or two at a time, and here it is after the dot fade is complete and all the thinner has dried. This will get another layer of gloss coat before the next step. All right, so with a thin wash made from kind of a grimy, dark grayish color called Starship Filth, and just cut pretty thin with thinners. I'm just hitting the detail points. I'm gonna hit the panel lines, the rivets, and with all that thinner and the oil paint and the gloss coat, you'll see it just draw right down with capillary action. And this will kind of bring out all the detail in the model. So I'll do the roof and the sides and along the rivet lines. And afterwards, and I'll show this in the next little clip, once this has kind of sat here for, call it 25, 30 minutes, something like that, I'll come in and clean up the tide marks with a flat brush. But I'm going to leave most of the pigment down in the rivet lines and the panel lines because it'll kind of draw out, call out that detail. So again, I'm just letting the action, the capillary action kind of draw the pigments down. I'll clean up any tide marks that spread out across the model away from the rivets with that wide brush, which I'll show next. And that's really all there is to a pin wash. That'll wrap this up. Just what I didn't show on camera there at the end when I was airbrushing the wheels and trucks and undercarriage is I also kind of went around really light around the bottom of the car just for a little bit of dust, both on the sides and the ends. But yeah, that's what it looks like. I think it turned out pretty well. I'm happy with that. Nice Seaboard Airline boxcar for the railroad. Kind of transformed from a inexpensive car that probably wasn't as useful. So I've got this thing up to weight now, and coupler heights are correct. And I'm bumping into lots of stuff as I try to pan around and show that. So that's what it's looking like. Even got the little decals on the top on the end there. Those were fun. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Kind of a rescue operation for a car. It turned into something kind of fun. So Jason, you're out there, Mr. Train Freak. If I ever get my layout operational again, let's interchange these guys. All right, I'll leave it here. Y'all be well. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk again soon.